Welcome to Unit 6 on Urban Geography. I want to look at some places in Pittsburgh that have undergone redevelopment or revitalization. I will try to use and clarify some terms from your textbook and show you where and how they can apply to real locations in Pittsburgh. When one looks at pictures from the 1930s, and you see the warehouses and docks and shipyards on the point, and you fast forward to today, or the same situation on the north side. And then again, we see the transformation to the stadiums and clean riverfronts today, or along the river at Homestead. We're prompted to ask, how did Pittsburgh get from the industrial steel town it once was to the city that it is today? Well, it wasn't easy. Due to foreign competition following World War II and the increasing process of globalization, the steel industry in the United States began to collapse. Following this wave of deindustrialization, many businesses left Pittsburgh. There was a spike in unemployment, and the population drastically fell. In many ways, Pittsburgh is still picking up the pieces of industry, trying to avoid both gentrification and urban decay in the towns that were affected, even as it looks to change for the future. Come with me on a tour of the Steel Valley that built Pittsburgh and America to see how urban redevelopment is happening around us right now.
Isn't anybody home in here? It's getting cold and I just don't care, so I'm gonna find something else to do.
Our tour of Steel Valley along the Monongahela starts here in McKeesport. Once a booming town, almost larger than the city of Pittsburgh itself, McKeesport has depreciated in both its population and in the kind of the businesses and the economic situation. But to give you an idea of the magnitude of McKeesport in its heyday, behind me is the oldest full-length body statue of JFK in the world. You could see that when JFK came here to Pittsburgh, he came to McKeesport in 1962 and gave a speech right here in this park. It just goes to show you how much things have changed as the factories and the mills have shut down. Behind me you can see a train going through. Today a lot of people and a lot of businesses pass through McKeesport. Most don't come to stay. I'm going to get going down on the rest of the bike trail. On to the next stop. From up here you can see just how big and how sprawling the plant stretches. Let's see if we can take a closer look. Right now I'm outside the Edgar Thompson plant down in Braddock. You can hear the sound of the mill. You can see the smoke going up in the air. This mill is very extensive. It runs a long way throughout the town and down along the river. I'm also standing right across from a new upscale restaurant that's called Superior Motors. This opened not a while back, and it's part of the revitalization of Braddock, spearheaded by their mayor at the time, John Fetterman. You can hear the noise pollution. You can see how far the plant stretches. We're going to take a little ride through Braddock today and see what's going on. I'm just a little bit further down here in Braddock, and right outside what's called Braddock Farms, as a way to combat food insecurity in the region, which is a food desert. And this is part, again, of the redevelopment of Pittsburgh, but also specifically Braddock, that brings food and fresh produce to local residents. Braddock's Main Street saw a sharp decline following the industrialization in the 80s. Part of the project of new urbanism is bringing back the main streets of these kind of towns and of our inner cities. When a lot of the jobs in industry left Braddock, so did a lot of businesses. So did a lot of people who could afford to. This kind of place is all along Main Street, Braddock. And you can see this sign here. The Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County works to try to turn these abandoned former businesses and places into something else that to revive the community. I'm standing in a recently revitalized, redeveloped area of Braddock. Behind me you can see some apartments, brand new, a new public space here. Across the street you see General Braddock's or Brew Gentleman's brewery, also apartments and office spaces for lease, that kind of mixed use housing that you would see in a new urbanism kind of plan for redevelopment. This is a furniture store in Braddock. It's a good word for Braddock, revival. They turn old antique like furniture into something new. Here's another screen printing business which show the signs of Braddock's rising in a new and a productive way. People who say these small towns should just die and move on, they're never going to come back, I like to show them that a lot of these places still can come back. We shouldn't give up on them.
Braddock's revitalization is far from complete, but efforts have been made to try to mitigate the gentrification that we see in other areas of Pittsburgh, to try to keep local residents where they are, but also still revitalize and change the city.
In the distance is the Cary Furnace, and in front of me, stretching all the way here down into Braddock from the plant that we just came from, is what's called a brownfield. Former industrial site, can't really be used for anything right now. Rusting bridges and machinery just kind of left here, waiting to be repurposed or redeveloped, but not serving any purpose to the city at the moment. Some effort has been made to try to redevelop Cary Furnaces, letting artists, the symphony, other theatrical productions in there. They give tours of the facility as part of the history of Pittsburgh. I'm down in Homestead. Behind me you can see the train go across the trestle, across the Monongahela. This stop on my Mon Valley trip, you can see what's left of the Cary Furnace. This site, back when it was built in the mid to late 1800s, would put out over 1,000 tons of steel a day. On this site there was also the Homestead riots. This was the pump house where the Homestead riots and strike took place. Like I said, in the 80s, a lot of these places in Pittsburgh deindustrialized. Now you have here what's called the waterfront, which is next on my tour. Down in the waterfront, this is an open-air shopping mall. Opened in 1999, and there's been other development since. You can get all your essentials. You got your AMC movie theater. You can go and get your Burgatory burger, Yankee Candle, Journeys, Starbucks coffee. All these things are here at your fingertips. Now, it's eerily empty because of the coronavirus, but this is an example of revitalization of previously what would have been a brown zone in the layout of Pittsburgh. Formerly industrialized, almost nothing could be put here. 1999, the city decided to open this spot. Now, with the hope of revitalizing Homestead, which is right across the railroad tracks, which was a failed venture, unfortunately. As we discussed in class, a lot of this money comes into this area of these chain stores, these P.F. Chang's, these Starbucks, and they don't really help the local business or stimulate the economy right across the road in the neighborhood nearby. On to the next stop. These are two former coal barges pushed alongside the river here. Coal barges still run all along the Monongahela today, but these ones just got left behind.
And if you take my home, don't leave the smallest part. I've no need to live with your come up gone. And as my life turns to a song, and if and when
We're going to end our tour here near the Hot Metal Bridge at the Steelworkers Monument. Really grateful that Pittsburgh has redeveloped in the way that it has. Otherwise, we couldn't enjoy our clean waterways anymore, our cleaner air, our bike paths. But as we enjoy a lot of these new redevelopments, we need to make sure we're taking care of the people that got left behind in the 70s and 80s. So with that, this ends the tour of the Mon Valley, and until next time.